Hi, my name is Pretty Basra. Welcome to the Women Money Business Podcast. So on this episode, I want to talk to you about what my dad suggested I should do when I was 12. And full disclaimer, my parents aren't bad parents. They just did some weird things to me and my brother when we were younger. So back when I was 12 years old, my dad had an idea that he wanted me to travel by myself. And I had only been to Canada and India with them. Sort of throughout my life, those are the two places that I'd been on a plane with them, and that was it. So I never travelled by myself before then. I was 12. So my dad felt that it was something that I should do, and I had lots of family in Canada, and he just was feeling quite strongly about it. And it was some holidays, like we used to have 8 weeks off, and he said, like, just go for a month. What are you going to do here? You're only going to be in the shop. You might as well go there. And I was like, okay, why not? I've had my eyes tested by myself. I can obviously get on a plane by myself. It's no big deal. Obviously, it is a big deal. And so I was asking him, what do I do? How do I do this? Etc. etc. So he sort of talked me through the process. Said, you'll be fine. You take your passport. As long as you've got your passport, you'll be fine. You just go in, show your passport, go out the other end, show your passport, done. Really simplified it for me. Obviously, it's not that simple. I know that now. So I remember it was like early hours on I think it was Wednesday morning, and beautiful UK weather, nice and grey. And my dad drove me to Manchester Airport, which is like an hour and a half from home, which is fine. And I was quite excited to go to the airport because of duty free, because I didn't obviously get to do that very often. But then part of me was really excited, part of me was really nervous, and I'd packed everything. I was full capacity on my suitcase, and I didn't really fully think this through, that I'm going to be the one carrying the suitcase, and I'm 12. So as a 12-year-old, I was probably quite tall, but then literally I've been this height now since I was 12. So I'm not very tall now, but then I was quite tall then. So my dad took me to the check-in desk, checked me in, and I feel at this point maybe the staff there should have flagged somebody that I was travelling by myself, but they didn't. So like now I know that people have escorts and things like that, when they are sort of children travelling by themselves, but that didn't happen in my situation. I don't know whether it's because I was 12 and maybe it happens at the age of 11 and below. I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it. So dad was like, yeah, so you're going to be fine. Pat me on the back, yeah, you'll be fine. Just go through, just make sure you get through security. And at this time, because it was kind of pre-internet, I'm quite old. So, but the internet hasn't been around that long, so kind of not that old. So I didn't have a phone or anything. So dad, literally, it was just like, chuck me in, find out whether I get there on the other end when someone rings and says I've got there. But that was the norm then, so it was fine. So I didn't have a phone, and dad was like, you're safe, you're in a good place, you're in an aeroplane, it's safe, whatever. So I was like, okay. And obviously he had faith in me, so that I sort of had faith in myself. Like, okay, if he thinks I can do it, I'll do it. So I went through security and did all of that. Got on the other side. I don't eat on the plane, basically. I can't eat plane food at all. Like, the smell of it just makes me sick. Even to this day, I've never eaten. I've done so many long haul flights and I never eat on the plane. So I was always grab myself something. I'll always try and eat before, which is probably why I'm always the last one on the plane. So because I'm usually in some restaurant or some takeaway having some food, and then I'll just take something with me just in case I'm hungry from like Boots or whatever, like a meal deal. And obviously snacks and stuff like M&Ms and like everybody does. So that was fine. I was walking around living my best life. I'm 12 years old, alone in the airport, go through duty free, eat what I want, got some spending money, got my passport, life's good. So got onto the plane, boarded the plane, and it's a 12-hour flight because I'm going to Vancouver. So yeah, not anywhere near, literally a 12-hour flight direct, Air Transat, Boeing 737, great, big massive plane. And as we all know, when you're going long haul and if you're traveling, even whether you're by yourself or not, you want that middle aisle, and you want no one to sit next to you on it either, because then what can you do? You can lie down, have a little nap or a big nap. So I sat in the middle aisle, and there was like 4 seats, and I was third seat in, and I was waiting and waiting, thinking, oh, maybe, no one's going to come. Obviously, people came. So there's two ladies sat at this side of me. That was mother-in-law and her daughter. And the mother-in-law was quite elderly. I'd say probably she's in her like 60s, 70s. Obviously, I was 12, so I thought she was elderly then. Obviously, she's not elderly now. And I can't remember the person on that side, to be fair, because it's only these two that I spoke to. Actually, I don't think there was anybody on that side. It was just these two ladies here. And fine. So then they started talking to me, and mum and dad always say, try to always be polite, especially if they're older than you as well. And they were Asian, so they were speaking in Punjabi, and I can speak fluent Punjabi, so I talked to them in Punjabi, and they're quite like that. And I just explained what I was doing, why I was here, and they were a little bit surprised, to be fair, which is rightly so. Nobody on the plane was aware, in terms of the air cabin crew, that I was travelling by myself. No one really kind of was like red flagged to that at all. So everything was fine. Plane took off. A few hours into our journey, loads of turbulence, like really bad turbulence. And I've only flown a few times before, so I did get a little bit scared at that point. And I remember the ladies next to me, so I just touched my hand and just said, like, it's fine, like, this happens, it's quite normal. So I was like, okay, that's great, like, no problem. And it did settle down. And then obviously you get the doo-doo noise that comes up, and then you get an announcement. So an hour or so later, there was an announcement that the airplane needs to refuel. I mean, it needs to make not an emergency landing, but an unanticipated landing, because they're going to run out of petrol. I don't know if they have petrol. I don't know what it is. Anyway, so I was like thinking, did you not know about this before? Like, obviously you know how long it's going to take, but anywho, fine. I mean, it's not that I can do anything about it, so you have to sort of go with the program. So I was basically just unboarded, got off the plane, whatever the term is, got off the plane, and they said we're going to stop in Calgary. So we got off in Calgary, and I thought Calgary was like maybe half an hour drive from Vancouver. Obviously, it clearly isn't. So we got off the plane, and everyone sort of, there's like a group, or obviously everyone just sort of follows each other, don't they, like in a bit of a herd. And I remember everyone was going to the toilet, so I just sort of thought, yep, that's what we're going to do. We're all going to go to the toilet. Went to the toilet, and I was in the cubicle, and I just thought, like, because Dad had said to me, to make sure you don't lose, like, make sure you've always got your passport. You always check the way, wait. Anything else you can replace, but you need your passport. So I thought I'd just have a quick check. I've got my passport. And when I started looking in my bag, I couldn't find my passport. I was sweating. I was hot. I was just, like, my heart was beating, like, really fast. And I was just thinking, oh, my God, like, I've lost my passport. What am I going to do? Like, I'm in Calgary airport. I don't even know where that is. I've got no form of contact with anybody. Nobody knows I'm travelling alone, and I've lost my passport. So, and then there was like, I could hear ladies outside sort of wanting to go to the toilet, because there's only a few cubicles. There's like 4. So I was like, right, I need to get out of here. So then I got out, and I could feel myself getting quite emotional, thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I thought, I need to get out. I need to get some, not fresh air, but just in a bit more of an open space, and just try and talk to myself and figure out what I'm going to do next. So I went out, found a bench, sat down, and then literally I just emptied my bag out, and the passport wasn't in my bag. And I was just thinking, like, what is going on? So then I remembered I've got zips on my bag. So I started undoing the zips, found my passport. Honestly, like, probably the worst 2 minutes of my life at that point. And it feels so much longer, doesn't it, when you're in that situation? You just sort of think, you feel like it's going on for hours and hours. So I found my passport, sweating, don't smell great, I'm pretty sure, and don't look great. But anyway, who's there to judge? And I start looking around, and there's nobody there. And I was just like thinking, well, now what do I do? Because I've never number one, traveled by myself. I'm 12. But then also, what happens when you come off the plane? Do you just go back to the same door? Like, do you just wait? Do they come and get you? Like, well, what happens, And then I was thinking, what if they've already gone? When you sort of miss a bus and you think, has the bus come or has it gone? That is the exact feeling that I had. Is like, maybe they've gone. Maybe the plane's gone. And now what do I do? Who do I tell? Like, I don't know. So I was panicking, sort of looking around. I was, again, getting a bit emotional. And then the toilet door opened, and then those two little ladies, that was the one older lady and the daughter-in-law that was sat next to me on the plane, came out the door, and I was like, oh, thank God. Like, literally, I was like, thank God. So then I sort of darted over to them. I think they were thinking, you're a bit keen, but I just thought, you got to do what you got to do. So darted over to them and just said, like, can I stay with you? And they were like, yeah, of course, yeah, no, that's fine, just stay with us. And they said, well, what you need to do is, have you got your luggage? And I said, sorry, what do you mean? They said, well, they took the luggage off the airplane. And I said, all right. So again, never done this before, I'm 12. And they said, but you need to put it back on. And I said, like, I don't understand. They said, like, oh, so they've took the luggage off for refuelling, so now they're going to change plane. And I thought, of course they are. This is my life, and nothing ever is straightforward. If it's straightforward, I'm very suspicious, because that's not how my life runs. So I was just like, right, okay, of course you took the luggage off. Of course you need to refuel the plane. Of course you're not going to go on the same plane either. So great. So they said that they've already moved their luggage across. So then I was running around and I said, kind of, they were saying to, it's on that belt thing. Did that. Fine. Still panicking. Checking my passport, make sure I've got my passport, and then get back on the plane. And I think it's like 2-3 hours to Vancouver. Yeah, that's it. Fine. Done. So get off the other side, go through security, and waiting for my baggage. Waiting for my luggage. Everyone's going. It was a really late flight, so I think we landed about one-ish in the morning, and everyone's going. And then eventually it's just me. Of course it is. It's just me waiting for my one suitcase that isn't anywhere to be seen. So I'm thinking, calm down. It's fine. It'll come. Maybe someone's picked it by accident. Maybe they're going to bring it back. So then I spoke to one of the staff, and I said, like, oh, and at no point at this point has anybody realised that I'm 12 years old and I'm travelling by myself and I've got no support. I've got, no one's telling me the process. I'm just literally just following the leader and just sort of kind of figuring it out as I go along. So I get my luggage eventually, and everyone's gone. Then I go out into the exit bit there, where they usually sign with like flowers and signs and teddy bears and like confetti balloons or whatever. So I didn't want any of that. Like, I wasn't expecting anything like that, but just a person would have been good, just one person. So I go out and there's nobody. Like, it is literally, you could hear a pin drop there. It's just deserted, like no noise. And then I'm really panicking. So I'm just thinking, right, I'm literally halfway across the world. I've got no form of contact. I've got no telephone. I don't even know the telephone number of the people, of my cousins that live here, because Dad didn't feel it was important to give me that. And then now I felt like if I tell any of the airport staff that I'm by myself here, then my parents going to get in trouble. Are people collecting me going to get in trouble? So it's all of that going on in my head. Because again, I'm 12, guys. So I'm looking around panicking, and then I started to cry, because I was just thinking, like, I'm out of my depth here. Like, this is too much. This is too much. I'm 12. I'm in Canada, like a different continent, from where I was before. I've almost lost my passport probably multiple times. I've got on and off an airplane. I've had to remove my luggage. I'm very sleep deprived. I haven't had any food for a long time. I just want to sleep, and I want to just just want to feel safe. And as I'm sort of getting worked up, I turn around, my cousin's there, and I'm just like, oh my God. I remember running up to him and giving him the massivest hug in the world and just crying. And I was just saying, I remember just like really ugly crying, just saying, I thought no one was going to come back for me. I thought no one was here. I thought you'd left me. And he was like, no, don't be silly. Like, because he'd been waiting a while, because there'd been delays and things. He'd gone to move his car. Of course he had. So I was like, all right, okay, that's fine. He's like, it's fine. Don't upset yourself. You're here now. It's all good. Fine. That was it. And the rest was history. Afterwards, on the way back, absolutely fine, know what I'm doing, like breeze through, check in, breeze through, exit, get my luggage, whatever, go meet my family back in the UK, not an issue. So when I've been just reflecting on my sort of journey in life and some of the things that have stood out to me during my life, this was one of those key moments that was quite pivotal for me, because I think I realised I realised now, back then, that I was put in a very unfamiliar situation and I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to navigate that situation, although I'd kind of be given some instructions by my parents, my dad. But then you don't know. You can sort of do all your research and read about it and whatever and say, well, this is the process that you have to follow and you should do this and you should do that. But then dropping that person in that environment is completely different because you behave differently. So the reason why it was quite pivotal for me is because it was new. I didn't know what to do. I was scared. I was concerned. I went through all these different emotions. I had to figure it out ultimately. I had to figure out how am I going to get from A to B, literally how am I going to get from A to B. And there were issues that came up on the way, and then I had to figure out how am I going to navigate those, those sort of problem solving skills. And I'm not saying that every parent should throw the child into the deep end in terms of putting them on a flight 12 hours away, like halfway across the world. But I can see why my dad did it. I can understand why he did it, because he can't teach me those life skills. I have to live through them. I have to go through it. And to him, he's probably quite nonchalant, thinking, well, I came from India at the age of whatever, and I was fine, and I couldn't even speak the language. At least you're 2 steps ahead of me, which I get that. But then what that means now is that because I did that at such a young age, I had no real fear of being in new circumstances because I'd travelled halfway across the world by myself when I was 12. So compared to that, if I'm going into a room where I don't know somebody, like, it's absolutely fine. It's a walk in the park. And for me, that power of networking whilst I was on the plane, and I'm going to call it networking, but yes, I was having a conversation with the ladies next to me, but that was a really powerful conversation for me to have, because then if I didn't speak to them and build that relationship with them on the plane, then when I got off the plane and I needed help, I needed support, I needed to know what was going on, if I went up to anybody else on the plane, they would have no idea who I was and probably be thinking, just go away, I don't know who you are, like, what you're doing. Whereas, but because I'd made time to speak to them and tell them about my journey, learn about their journey, they were more willing to help me. And those two things, I think, were quite, like, looking back now, are quite pivotal in my life, because it's made me sort of think about going into new situations, that why do I feel almost like comfortable in a way that it doesn't faze me. And I'm thinking that's probably one of the reasons why, because my dad's always pushing us into certain rooms to sort of acclimatise yourself to that situation, that it's not always going to be comfortable, it's not always going to be straightforward, but then doesn't mean you don't do it. You do it, and then you learn through it, and then you've got that under your belt. Because, like I say, going there was traumatic. Coming back, I've done it. I've done it. So what's the worst that can happen? Like, I've done, like, the worst that can happen, apart from the plane, I don't know, falling into the water, everything that, like, has gone wrong, I've been able to navigate that, so it gives me confidence. So after that, I was so, like, my dad said to me, like, do you want to go to India next year? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I thought, like, I've done 12 hours to Canada, 7 hours to India, not an issue, not an issue whatsoever. And I think what resonates with me the most is that it's so important to take that first step. It's so important to just put your fears aside, or your maybe not fears, but maybe your sort of reservations is probably the word. Maybe put your reservations aside and think, what's the worst that can happen? And you'll hear me say this so much through all of my episodes, because that's kind of my little motto in life, is what's the worst that can happen. You're only going to learn from your mistakes, and if your mistakes are made, no one's perfect. The whole point of mistakes for me is to get better. So the more mistakes I make, the better I'm going to become, because I learn from them. And I know some people just want things to be perfect straight away, and that's great if that's the way that you are and that's your mindset. But for me, I need to make those mistakes to be better at what I do. So I suppose I'm not saying, like I say, I'm not saying put your child on a plane, but I'm just saying maybe and I'm not being a sort of a parenting guru or anything like that. Absolutely not. I'm just sharing my knowledge and experience, really. But I think, and I've got 3 children myself, and if I was to say to my 10-year-old now, do you want to go on a plane by yourself to Canada? I think he'd be like thinking, does she need sectioning or something, But But then you don't have to go to that extreme. There's little things that you can do to build your child's confidence in to sort of prepare them for, I don't want to say the real world, but like the certain world, especially if you go into like business and entrepreneurship, to prepare them for that kind of world, that sometimes it is going to feel uncomfortable. Sometimes you are going to be scared, and sometimes you're going to want to cry. But then that's all part of the process, because, you know, we've all been there. But then just doing little mini things with them where it's just like, well, do you want to just go down to the shop by yourself and I'll stand here and watch you? Just being, because you don't, I know you want to protect them and cocoon them to a certain extent, but then at the same time, like my mum and dad used to say to us, that we don't want to protect you so much that when you're released into the outside, like we're animals, but well, my brother is, but anyway, when you're released into the outside world, you don't know how to sort of behave or interact, or you're a little bit too innocent for it. So it's finding that right balance, in my opinion. But then, would I have done the things that I've done today? Would I have the courage to do what I've done today? Would I have bought a business not having any business experience? Would I have took out a loan to buy the business, like, and go put myself in debt straight away at the age of 29? Would I have done that if I didn't, like, if I hadn't done what I'd done on the plane and just sort of done something, tried something new, and realised that it all works out in the end, or it should all work out in the end, as long as you sort of follow whatever you think is that path? Would I have done those things? Would I have opened, 2-3 businesses if I didn't take that first step and think, so what, so what if it fails? Don't know. So I just thought I'd share that with you, and I hope that's helped somebody. And please do subscribe to my channel if you liked sort of part of my, you have to like all of the story, just even a little nugget of the story. If you liked it, please subscribe to my channel. I'm on YouTube as well, and you can follow me on LinkedIn for more actionable tips. And it's Dr. Pretty Basra Bad. Join you on the next one. Thank you.